Hello guys, welcome to part 3 of your liquid drum and bass production tutorials. What we're going to do in this, we take the subline and we're going to build another reese on top of it to add in some changes, some other effects. We're going to look at building an intro, adding an extra rhythm line using the kick drum that's already there in the track, just to add a little change and build up the pace and give it some extra movement. And we're just generally going to keep on building up the track. So if you've landed on this straight on video number 3, you just need to go back. There's 2 videos prior to this. The first one's got a sample pack that you might need to download as well if you haven't got any drum breaks or like D&B drum breaks to work with, or you can't use Loop Cloud. So there's a free pack in there, and it will help you just follow through the steps. And that's it, guys. Let's get into the video. Alright, so in the last video we've sort of twisted our drums up a little bit, rebalanced it, added some extra bits, taken some other bits away, built up our chords, added the piano melody, and also layered a subline here. So what we're going to do in the first bit here, where we change from the first 16 bar to the second 16 and we drop some of the other sounds out, we're going to fill that space with another layered bass. We're going to make a bit of a stereo reese type sound to sit sort of in between that melody but above the subline, so where we get the drastic change just here. Now we don't want it to be too obvious, we just want to flesh out that subline here. So what I'm going to do is just highlight the sub, use Command and D just to duplicate that channel straight away. I'm going to take these two and just copy them down, so we just highlight them and hold Alt and just drop those down below. That's just going to give us an exact duplicate of our subline. Now we're just going to try something really quick and see if this works. So if we rename this as Reese, because we're going to keep this nice and organized. If we load up an ES2, so ES2 synthesizer 2 here, just the stereo version. I did a tutorial a little while back about making a reese sound in this particular synth, and I've got it saved in here as a big reese, and this was quite harsh, but I think if we really dial back the cutoff, we might be able to really make it work in this track, which is a great example of reusing sounds that you've created. And if we do that, I can just put the patch for you guys to download. So let's just try it and see what we've got. So first off, it's going to be quite harsh. Alright, so what we've done there, we've changed the filter blend, so it's only using this second filter, which is a low pass. We've changed that slope so it slopes off at 20 dB, 24 dB slope instead. Brought the cutoff right the way back, tamed the resonance as well. And then in the ADSR section just here, we've brought the attack in so it takes a little bit longer to develop. So now when we layer it with the sub, they should hopefully sit together. We might move it up an octave as well. Now they work really well together. So let's try the whole thing in context. What we'll go from the previous section and bring it in. wicked. So what I'll do, I'll put the original patch of the ES2 here. I'll just link that below. You can download the patch straight away, or if you want, you can watch the video and learn how to create it yourselves. And we'll even save this as an alternate version of it, and we'll save that up for you as well. So we'll do big grease, low cut, D and B, tuts. Great, so now we've got this full progression going from just the chords to bringing the melody in, but taking away the drums, and it just fills that space with this stereo reese going on. I think we might have to take some low end out of it. Now I've spent a little time away from this tune, about a week or so, and coming back and listening to it, there's something I really want to change. I want to give it more of a low end rhythm. So the kick at the moment just feels a little bit sparse. I want that to speed up, maybe keep it slow in this first section and then speed it up, maybe even after the first 8, because at the minute it's just sort of plodding along. I want to up that pace a little bit. What we'll do is we'll duplicate this channel, so that's again Command and D, and we're going to take a kick sound from here and use that to double it up. So what we'll do, we'll leave the first 4 as it is, now we'll leave the first 8 as it is, and we'll come in here, we'll just make a quick loop and just figure out a nice extra kick pattern that can sit in here with this. So if we just hold Alt, we can copy that in. So perhaps something like this. We have looped the wrong point there. Let's just get rid of them. I'm going to just start you from bar 9. Yeah, so I quite like that dropping in just before the snare. I think we could maybe do a slightly different pattern for the other 2 and then alternate that. So we could even bring this across and maybe put an extra in here. That doesn't quite work, but if we step it there. Okay, perhaps in between these 2. So let's see how that feels going from, let's say, bar 5 through. That for me, it works quite nicely. I think we can bring that across here and keep it going. Do you know what, it might work nicely as well to again really emphasize that dropout and then bring it back in this section here. I think we'll just dial it back with dB further than the initial break, just to give some variance. Let's just check that out. Yeah, I really like that switch up. I think after we do like an 8-bar little bridge or a breakdown here, when we come into the next section, we'll keep that faster rhythm going for the whole second drop. So we can use a lot of the same elements, but just give it a different feel for that whole second drop. What we've built up here so far, I quite like. We need to address the extra little Reese layer that we added in. What we'll do is just color that as well. So if we can just highlight these sections, if we drop the menu down here, you can access the colors. Now you can also do, I think it's option C, but that's where it's going to live. Now whatever we've got highlighted, it will show us the color, and we can just choose a color to assign it. So like Reese's and bass things, I generally stick as orange. And we'll just take the sub as well, and we'll give that a darker one, just so at a glance we know what they are. And we just want that to relate as well to our mix down here. So we just highlight these two, go into functions, and we can just do name color tracks by region color. And you see they'll change down there for us, which is happy days. Let's just solo this Reese section. I'm going to pop an EQ on it. I think I'm going to take the low end out. Right, okay, so it's just the little the drop bit that occurs in the melody that puts it below the 100. Do you know what though? I am just going to roll it like this, so it's generally not going to be affecting our like kick and sub as much, so it can still have the feeling of that drop but take away any of the unnecessary energy. That should work. Sweet. So something really common in like the liquid styles and D&B would be to have an ARP of some kind. I think we could get away with like a little digital ARP, just giving a bit of a push in the background. And what we'll do is we'll use these chords here, and we'll cheat again. We'll Command D this, but we're going to blank this whole channel strip here, and we'll put what we'll do. We'll click on the top, and we will reset it completely. I'm going to grab the chords of this first section. It's not necessarily where I'm going to keep them, but this is what we're going to use to play around with. And I think something like retro synth will help us out the most here. What I'm going to do is create something sort of like a really quick triangular blip. So we're going to make use of just the analog tables really, and the amp envelope, just to make this really like short spiky sound. We're then going to just use the MIDI effects to arpeggiate that across the chords and see if we can just build up a driving little melody behind everything else. Okay, so all we've done there, we've not changed any shapes, we've just taken the amp envelope and reduced it right down so it decays over 220 milliseconds and has its release of 1 millisecond as well. So just a nice short sound. Then use the flanger just to bring it so it's got a slightly different feel each time it hits. So by having the rate modulate in the mix, each time that spike happens, it's not going to be exactly the same. I'll show you what I mean. We'll have it off and then on. So it's really just a replica of the same sound each time, but because it's going to be modulated here, it's a little bit different each time and your ear picks it up a lot. Okay, so if we go into our inspector channel on here, we can go to MIDI effects and we're going to put the arpeggiator on. And let's set this guy up. So 1/8 is probably going to be as fast as we want to go. So let's hear how that's working with these chords. Cool, so first thing we notice, they're still really quite low down. If we just use the transpose up here and pop it up 1 octave, which would be 12 semitones. So 1/4, far too slow. One over 8's alright, 1/16, just too rapid. The triplets just feel too out of time. Just for the way everything else is working. So 1/8. That's really the decision if we want it to go up and down, repeat up and down, invert, or even go cross. What we're going to do here is just add a little bit of swing so it goes a little bit in and out of time with everything else. And just add another groove to everything else. Okay, velocity, I want to take it back a little bit. So it's a little bit quieter than played. Take it back to about 80%, but we want to randomize it by sort of 15%. So it's going to give some fluctuation in levels between the different hits, but it's still taking away a little bit of that level. That's alright for me. I think what we'll do is we'll move it onto here so it starts at bar 9, which is also where we've got our second rhythmic bit occurring. And we're going to put an EQ on it. We're going to chunk the lower end out to around the 100 because I still want everything else in there to sit nicely, and I'm going to be really harsh and cut this out here. I don't want anything below really doing anything. Let's just have a look and see if it is taking anything away. If not, we're going to bring it up to its fundamental. Cool, so our snare, as we remember from earlier, is sitting right around 200. We're just going to roll this past it. We don't want it interfering. Okay, I'm going to use quite a steep high cut now. I'm just going to listen to it. I'm going to bring it right down so it's just sort of a tone sat in the mix, and we're going to automate this high cut. So now it's just there in the background. You can just about hear it and feel it. Okay, if we press A to bring up the automation lanes here, we are going to adjust this a little bit and have a play around. So where it says display off, we want to change that, and we want to go to channel EQ, high cut frequency. Okay, so really weird behavior, but I can't currently get it to show the automation lane to me for that, even though it's working for everything else. And the display is now on, it's not turned off. That's super weird. I wonder if it's disabled on here. Nope. Don't know, super weird. So way we're going to get around that, we're going to change this from read to latch. While we're playing, we're going to tweak this and it should record it for us and we'll work it from there. Cool, so that's given us an automation lane like we wanted. And we'll just use these points here to set it around the right frequency. So I want this to stay roughly around here, apart from in this last section, just rise up a little bit for the last bit and then return back to here. And I just want it to maintain here, have sort of the tiniest little dip as it goes along. So it's almost going to build back up. And then for this last one, coming to the end of the 32, I want it to open up quite a bit more. If we tap T and W, we can curve it. So it's a slow progression. Let's just listen to that out of context and then how it works in the track, and then we just tweak it as we go. Happy days, and let's just see how that chugs along inside the whole track. Happy days. So we've built up quite a nice little 32 bar section here. We've got some ins and outs and different changes. Let's just have a listen to what we've got in its entirety now. Happy days. Now, something really important that I didn't do, I've left this in latch. It gives us this bright orange symbol here. We want to make sure that goes back to read, because if we made any changes, it would record them. You know, I'm pretty happy with what we've got so far. I would actually consider looking for bits of vocals and things like that. So let's see what Logic can provide us in terms of vocals to sit in. If I remember rightly, we were working in G. I don't know, I've worked in like 10 projects since we last opened this. Either way, I think that's what it was. So let's try and find some kind of vocal that might work with us. Well, that was definitely a note. I actually quite like that as an instrument. We're just going to drag that in and have a little play around with that as an idea. Okay, now the phrase doesn't quite work because of the length, but we can just adjust that. So to do that and adjust the MIDI length, if we just hold Option, when we go towards the bottom here, it gives us the stretch icon. So we just stretch that from being 3 bars to 4 bars. Now I quite like that. So if we take the second section, I'm going to edit that. I'm going to just bump these top notes here up an octave. So that did not work. What we could maybe do instead then is strip the lower ones from here. That's obviously pretty loud. We want to take that back in the mix because it's something we just sort of have sat in the background. We really want that to work just like a pad filling out some space. It's got a compressor on the channel by default. What we're going to do is open that, and we're going to use the FET side 8, and we're going to send our drums to it. So they're still cutting through really nicely, and then we're going to use a little trick with the noise gate to make it a bit more rhythmic. So if we just click on here, we can go into dynamics, add a noise gate. We're going to make the side chain here come from our drums as well. So the drums now trigger the gate to open. So we're just going to dial that in a little bit better so it's not quite so harsh. So increase the release a little bit. Now I'm going to do something really strange and send this into the snare reverb with loads of send. Sweet. So I really like what that's doing, especially on this section here. It's just sitting in the background. It's really rhythmic, but because it's going to the snare reverb, it's got like a nice little tail off, just so you can really hear what's going on. So we're using that reverb as the tail, but then this is the rhythmic effect. And that's just working like a pad in the background there. So what we could do now is look at perhaps building an intro, so building into this first 32 bar section. So I'd highlight the whole lot and I'd probably move it. So we're going to have, say, a 16 bar intro. So we can drop the whole lot so it starts on bar 17, giving us a nice 16 bar space at the front there. And what I'm going to do is take 2 of these over. So we've got the chords. We'll just let those chords play out on the first section, and then we'll actually utilize this choir. Now, because there's not going to be the same drums playing here, the choir will work as it was before it was being gated and cut away, hopefully. What we will have to do is automate the gate here. So go into our automation channels again, and we're going to go down to main, and then we have insert bypass 3. We're going to choose that. Because for this particular section, we don't want the gate to be on. So we're just going to create some trigger points here around what we want to occur. And we're going to make it so it's bypassed to start with Then right on here, the gate's going to kick into gear and it will start being triggered by the drums. Cool. So nice, real easy sweep to make. We're just going to take our crash here and duplicate this channel, Command and D. We're going to copy our crash over, drag it back like this. In the inspector, we're going to reverse it. And we're just going to zoom in, turn the automation lanes off, take this away, and just give it a little neat and tidy up here. So it just helps us move in a little bit more. I think as well we can do a nice neat trick with the drummer here. We're going to duplicate this again because we don't want to make any changes we've done to the original one here, just in case we decide to make some changes. But if we bring a drummer section in here and we narrow it down to sections of 2, which apparently for some reason is really difficult. Super annoying. Sweet. So we're going to double click on it and we just want to use the rides like we had before. But here we're going to go really soft and simple melody with it. Sweet. And what we're going to do is just keep duplicating it. And then on each one, just move this up the tiniest amount. Important, we remember to take the fills off as well. That we get a fill on each one that we just don't want. And on the last one here, I'm going to increase that sort of exponentially and put a little fill in as well, and just see if we've managed to build something up useful there. Alright guys, so that is it for this section. So what we did, we added a new Reese section in on top of the sub. We've added in a nice little choir and vocal section and done a reverse triggered gate as well as some side compression to just give that a little bit of control. We've made use of the extra snare reverb to give that a bit of extra feel and take away from that rhythmic cut of the gate, just to blend the two together. And we've built up an intro using a second drummer and reversing one of our crashes that we were using before, as well as added an extra rhythm just using a same sound from the break that we already had, just to give an extra change every 8 bars. So that's going to be it for this video, and we'll look to continue building on this in the next one. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next video next week.